All right.
All right, big
Well,
boy.
we're live. How you doing, Mr. Cooney? How
Wow,
are
I
you?
like it. I like it. I
Ladies
like
and
it, bro.
gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Gerry Cooney, boxing
What's
legend,
happening, my buddy? How are you?
Jersey legend too.
Yeah, I love it. I've been here for 23 years in
Really?
Jersey from New York, and I'm loving it. My wife is from here, and I'm living large. We're so lucky.
Yeah,
You
it's
right?
awesome.
Through
I'm
this
always going to
pandemic.
consider you a Jersey legend because I like
All
to
right,
keep it local.
there you go, bro.
So I have a few questions for you. Regarding
I
your
hope
life
so.
and all that stuff. So so what first off, I guess the base question that we always start off with. I'm sure you start off with a lot of interviews. Is what got you into boxing in general?
Well, I grew up in a rough Irish Catholic family, and my father was a big drinker. And I also want to tell you guys that right now on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, you can get Gentleman Jerry, a contender in a ring, a champion in recovery, and tells about my life and what happened and pitfalls and how we get up and we dust ourselves off and move on, and the great life that I'm living today. And so I started fighting. I grew up in a household. My father had built the ring in the backyard. He used to make us box as kids. My oldest brother left the house at 15, and he started going to a gym when he was like 18 years old. So I used to go. I loved the guy, and I go to the gym, follow him in, I watch. One day I'm hitting the heavy bag, and I felt pretty good. And I said, "Listen, let me box somebody." I felt good, but this guy had like 5 years experience. I had never fought before. So he banged me around a little bit. I threw the gloves off. I said, forget it. But that night when I went home, I went down the basement with the heavy bag, understanding that the guy's going to come at me and I have to learn how to breathe. And I need to learn how to counterpunch at that young age of 15 and a half. So a couple of days later, I went back to the gym and I asked, can I box that kid again? Except that kid couldn't do that to me anymore. Then 6 months later, I entered into the New York State Golden Glove Championship, which is that in Chicago were the two largest Golden Glove championships in the country, and I won the middleweight title. My brother was in it as a heavyweight, and I was a middleweight. I was 6'4", 160 pounds. You had to wet me down to see me, but I could punch, and if I touched you, you were going to sleep. And I had 7 fights, 5 knockouts to win the middleweight title, and what happened to me is that I learned from growing up in an alcoholic family is to out of sight, out of mind. If my father can't see me, he won't hurt me. And boxing was the first time that after every fight, I'd go to the newsstand and it seemed like my picture was on the back page of the Daily News. Of course, the Daily News sponsors the Golden Gloves. And so it made me somebody. And that's how I became a fighter.
Really? Oh wow. So are you are you still heavily involved in the boxing world now?
Well, I'm on Sirius XM Mondays and Fridays from 12 to 2. We talk all fights coming up, fights taking place. I mean, last week was pathetic with, Joshua and Usyk. I mean, how does heavyweight champ of the world not know how to cut off the ring and get to the body? It doesn't make any sense to me. And then to hear his trainer saying, well, he was doing okay. He was terrible. He was pathetic that night. And now it's okay. You can lose. I'm going to come back. I learned a lot. That's bull. You got to get a good trainer that's going to really teach you the fundamentals and how to fight, how to get inside. You just can't stay out when you're boxing a guy who's an A-level boxer, even if he's a cruiserweight. You can't fight his fights. You got to make him fight your fight. He never did that all night, and that was I like Joshua. He's a great guy, but he's got nobody in his corner, and that's a shame that fight ended the way it did.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Seeing somebody who's supposed to be the champ and not performing to what you would think is what you should be doing. Now, speaking on other things about boxing, something that I'm sure you have opinion of is how do you feel about the fighters I don't really say fighters, but like the Logan Paul and the Jake Paul situation. As somebody who came from like legit boxing.
Mhm.
How do you react to seeing these YouTubers and people going into boxing and getting paid large amounts of money for it?
You know, listen, it came along at the right time. Uh, it came along at the right time. The pandemic was here. It was like a sideshow. Mayweather came out. They made tons of money, but you can see as time goes on, the public is smarter than that. Like they got caught up the first time. They spent a lot of money. Since then, I mean, it's not doing. I mean, this last fight with Holyfield, um, he fought with Trump on as the announcer. It did terrible numbers, a terrible rating. And now listen, Holyfield was a great athlete for what he did. He's just a warrior with no war. And so the fans are getting smart. And I think there's a place for it sometimes, not like an every weekend thing. I mean, listen, Jake Paul is a tough guy. So is his brother. To befuddle Floyd Mayweather like he did with the jab. I mean, Mayweather came back after one of the rounds and his coach said, listen, use that jab. He said, I can't, it won't work. Because the Paul is taller, is bigger, is stronger, longer arms. And he kept him away. And that was the gift. And so are they talented? Could they make it? Could they win the Golden Gloves? I don't think so. Could they win the Golden Gloves? No, maybe the quarterfinals, maybe the semifinals, not in the open class, in the sub novice. So, but it worked for them.
Yeah.
They became sensations. But as you've seen, people correct themselves and they pull them back to center again. They realize it's just a joke.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's like you said, it's a sideshow. Not to take away from their talent, because obviously they do have some
They're great talent.
Yeah,
They're great
of course.
MMA. They're great grappling. But you can't take a great boxer, like anybody, and put him in the ring to do MMA with one of those guys. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Just like you can't do it the other way. 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, they're not going to perform too well against a prize fighter.
Well, it's a different world. Of course, it's a different world what they're doing. I mean, you're comparing some guy who you're talking about, an MMA fighter versus a boxer. They're two complete different sports. They're striking in MMA, but there's not pure boxing. And
sometimes you get like a Mayweather, Conor McGregor, where they had the personality to promote it. I mean, they never had a press conference. They just went online and said, we're going to fight. And they did a couple of $100 million. I mean, that was just unbelievable. But, and Mayweather did what Mayweather does. He hides and makes you miss and gets you tired. And then in the 6th or 7th round, he starts opening up. And that's what happened to Conor McGregor, because he doesn't have the endurance to fight a boxer. He doesn't have the talent to understand about the timing and about how I'm making you exert your energy without doing anything. And he learned a lesson, but he got paid for it.
Oh, of course. He got paid for paid
Handsomely.
to fight one of the greatest of all time. I mean, would you say who's your top 3?
Come on. Listen, you think about Sugar Ray Robinson. He was a welterweight. You think about Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran in their day. Mayweather couldn't compete with those guys, in my opinion. But in today's time, the generations, they didn't see Ray Leonard. They didn't see Sugar Ray Robinson. They didn't see Duran, Tommy Hearns. So they only got this information here. And listen, he's a great promoter. He could fight. But he didn't have like you think about Roy Jones. Roy Jones was a sensational fighter. He'll never be put in that class because he didn't have Ray Robinson, didn't have Jake LaMotta, didn't have some of those other guys, that Carmen Basilio, Gene Fullman, those top guys, Dick Tiger, that he could beat. Maybe he could have. We will never know.
So what, in your eyes, makes a great boxer? What would you say?
Well, I mean, it's adapting, making adjustments, listening to your corner, being open. If you give up three feet in real estate in the ring, you got to take it back, or else you give the guy strength. So you have to constantly be playing a mind game, like boxing, like a chess match. Like when I signed to fight you, I'm playing with you.
That's so interesting to think about that. A lot of outside people, and I've talked to them because I practice you know,
sometimes you can't see what's going on, so you wait for your corner and make the adjustment.
yeah, that's what I mean. I was more born into like the MMA side of the
Right.
world and stuff like that. So I
Great
can,
athletes.
yeah, of course, insane athletes. And the way I always took, martial arts in general, boxing, wrestling, all that stuff, they all have their different like sets of rules that you have to like follow in order to be great, or you have to, like you said, boxing, adapting,
It's a
listening to your
gift.
coach.
It's a
Of
gift. It's a
course.
gift you have. Listen, to be world class lasts for a minute. Unless you're Muhammad Ali, and you saw what happened to Muhammad Ali. He stayed too long, missed the attention, and he started catching shots where early on in his career, he said he prided himself around how well you couldn't hit him. When he got old and his legs wore out, it was how well he could take a punch. Well, we found out you can't take a punch. The brain absorbs that shock and that shock and that shock, and we suffer from it. So we got to be careful. But it's definitely a gift being world class.
Yeah.
You can create the shot, you can create the opening and watch it land. And then you kind of smile, say, wow, I got you. I got you. And you see the guy's eyes, he starts to fade when he knows he can't deal with it.
So do you, when you were boxing in your day, how did you usually, like, what was your strategy in fighting? Were you more of an aggressor, or were you more of like defensive
Yeah,
shots?
I mean, I wanted to get to your body because back in those days, we were body punchers. You got to get to the body. You got to, bang that body, bang that body. That'll slow the guy down and he'll start dropping his hands and you turn it over. Now for me, I grew up in a great time in boxing, but what happened was I didn't get the experience I needed because Don King owned everybody and he wouldn't give me anybody to fight because I wouldn't sign with him. So why would he want me to gain experience so that when I fought Holmes, I could be better prepared to beat him? So I was fighting all these guys and knocking them out, but I wasn't, getting the looks I needed. I wasn't getting the experience I needed. So I could make those adapt. I could adapt to those different situations. Holmes was a master. I'm trying to get this shit in. So anyway, he was a master.
So really, like back when you were, in your day, who was the most challenging fight you had, would you say?
I mean, Holmes was the greatest fighter I
Really?
ever fought. I mean, he was just, listen, he's ranked in the top 3, if not the top 2. We on Sirius XM have a show with Randy Gordon and I do Monday and Fridays at the fights. We had done a heavyweight tournament through history. And everybody before Rocky Marciano to Rocky Marciano and everybody from Rocky Marciano through today's time. And it was a phenomenal tournament. You could probably go online, Sirius XM, and download it and see the tournament. But it's great. There's a lot of great fighters, in our time. So, and I got to work with them. The only thing is that when I fought Holmes, I was knocking everybody out. I needed to get a couple of tough guys to give me some experience so I could look at different things about Holmes. And I learned so much in that loss to Holmes that night. I got stopped in the 13th round. I learned so much that night. Had we fought again, I would have done much better. But
Yeah.
we didn't have a rematch. We should have had a rematch back then. I think the fight merit.
Yeah, I could totally see. I was actually watching that fight, I believe, a couple weeks ago, just to like catch up on it and see, some of your classic fights. And that fight was intense. I mean, like you said, you made it to the 13th round with, you're saying arguably the top 2 greatest boxers of all time.
Yeah, and I just ran out of gas.
I think the internet's going.
I was drinking since I was 12. This guy never had a drink or a drug or smoked a cigarette his whole career. So I was like self-sabotaging myself from growing up in an alcoholic family. You kind of self-sabotage yourself. So if you fail, you can blame it on that and not on me. But,
Okay. Yeah.
at the end of the day, from being 33 and a half years without a drink, you realize it doesn't matter. You did it. It happened. And so, but that being said, I also am living today. I have a great life. I'm in the fight game that I love so much. So, you know, I think that I was looked after and someone protected me to be able to say, well, had I beat Holmes, I probably might not be here anymore because my life was so fast. I was on that fast lane, but I didn't have the knowledge how to handle it.
Yeah.
It was like I was going 1,000 miles a minute.
No, I mean I could totally. You hear about people who are stars all the time who can't handle it. I mean, look at Connor, look at John Jones. These people, I feel like, who are celebrities or big, or even huge boxers. You see like all these big time names, they just can't handle the fame, and you just go a little too hard, too fast, too speed. You're living on that party lifestyle, and that's what's your downfall. I could
Well,
totally
then,
see that.
and you got to understand that, we also have to understand the roar of the crowd is going to go away one day. And that's the most difficult thing. I think Muhammad Ali is a perfect example of that. He missed the roar of the crowd. That feeling when they call you and knock on your door and say you're next, and you walk out into that stadium and you hear that crowd, it's like electric, and you become magic. You become magical from that noise, from those people. And unfortunately, there comes a time when that goes away, and we're not prepared for that. And people treat it differently, and it's a struggle and it's a fight. Because most guys in the fight game, I mean, I think it's getting better now, but 99% of fighters ended up broke. Now, I was born at nighttime, but not last night, right? And I realized that um, there was going to be a rainy day. It was going to come. It was going to be all over. And I saved my money, and I protected it, and I wasn't really a big spender. Most guys didn't have that luxury, and I feel for those guys a lot.
Yeah. So was it hard for you to walk away?
Well, you know what? I alcohol sped that up for me. Alcohol became my friend, I thought. And it filled that big hole I had in my chest all my life of emptiness. And it numbed it out. So I used it I thought it was my friend, but actually it turned on me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my friend. And it cut everything short. But in the long term, I think what it did for me is it kept me sane, and it got me out of the game in time. I
Yeah.
didn't take those fights. I didn't have those fights, in part from Don King, but in part from my management too, because they wanted the big payday. And really, basically, if I had a good, managing team, they would have developed my talent first and trusted the rest to fall in place.
Yeah, of course. That's one of the biggest things that because I have some people I know who are professional athletes, and something that I hear a lot is get out or make your money, make your mark, and get out as less injured as possible, because you want to be able to enjoy what you've done. You're at the end of the day, you're still working, so you want
Right.
to be able to enjoy the rewards that you earned.
That's right. That's right.
Of course. I mean, and it goes, and especially people in combat sports. I mean, you're constantly tearing your body up.
Yeah. I mean, in the gym, I mean, realistic, let's face it. You got 4 or 5 big sparring partners. Each one's watching the one before to figure out how to get to you. And so you have to keep staying ahead of them. But you're taking a lot of wear and tear too. You know what I'm saying?
No, of course. I mean, every time you get hit in the head, that's damage. Regardless if you have a, headgear on or something, your brain's still getting that shock.
Well, when you're young, you can kind of roll with the punches a little bit.
Yeah.
Most guys, anyway, take some of the sting away, but it's not good for your brain.
How something I have a question about with boxing in general. How do you learn to not have that instinctual, like, close your eyes when someone's about to punch you? Like, that was something that I always struggled with.
It's like when I first got to the gym, the first night I boxed that guy, I never learned how to breathe. So when the guy came on me, I didn't breathe. If you don't breathe, you get tired. So you find out pretty soon that I got to learn to breathe in between the rounds, in between fighting, when I'm at a distance. It's like, if you do it 50 times, I'm going to be much better at 50 times than I am the first time. And so, and if you have the gift, if you have the ability to adjust and to see Well, look at that guy. I see that there. He's open here. Once he jabs, where is he open? When he throws the right hand, where is he open? Where is he most vulnerable? And then it's my job to prey on that. My job to find that, to get to it. And then when you get to it, you kind of smile and say, I got you, Mo. I got you. And that's how the game is.
Who do you think's the most promising young fighter right now? I know that there's a lot of names out there right now, but what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, listen, Haney, Devin Haney is a great fighter. I mean, you got so many great fighters in the welterweight division. Teofimo Lopez, I mean, the light heavyweight division is crazy with talent. Sal Alvarez, the super middleweights, the middleweights, the welterweights. Boxing is so good right now. The heavyweight division is stacked with guys, not just in the A rate, but the guys right behind them just waiting to break in. They got a kid from New Jersey, I think. He's with Bob Arum. I can't remember his name right now, but he's a great heavyweight, undefeated, all knockouts. And so we're going to see that now that this pandemic is finally, hopefully cleaning up, we're going to see some great bouts.
Yeah, of course. One fighter that my dad always showed me as a kid was Mike Tyson. And seeing him just, shadow box and stuff now, it's crazy to see how fast he still is.
Well, yeah, that's true. But you also see that guys now are 6'8", 6'9".
Oh, yeah.
He was like 5'7", or something like that, 5'8". So, it's different worlds. Like Lennox Lewis was just a big man against a good big man against a good little man. The big man most likely will always win.
Yeah.
But Mike Tyson had the momentum when he came out of the shoot, and he just was not going to be denied. He said one night, I'm the baddest man on this planet. And you believed it. And I know him since he's 13. He's a good guy. He always has been good to me. He's always has me on, and he comes on my show when I need somebody to come, when I'm away with them. So it was a great moment in time. And he's always going to be like, almost like a freak of nature back in this time. He just went through you.
Yeah. He saw you as an obstacle, and he went right after it.
Right. And then life started to get to him, and pressure started to get to him. He had trouble with King, and then he had wife problems, and he had this problem. And, it's like, it's difficult to stay in that lane.
Of course.
Difficult.
Of course. I mean, you're literally somebody in a sport that's you're going to attack another person. Just on that basis,
right,
for living is a fast road. Now add all the popularity and the fame. Oh my God.
Right. And I'm also glad he made it through.
Oh,
because he seems like he's doing great. He's got making great appearances in the movies. He's got a family. He's doing good stuff. And so I feel great. That's a success story.
Oh yeah, the fact that he was able to climb out of that hole that he was in is something that I absolutely love to read about. I mean, I've read so many things about him. I've seen some documentaries about him, and that kind of gave me some perspective on what fighters go through. I mean, obviously not always to that extreme, but to see the damage people take, and like you said, that fast road that a lot of people go on, you could totally see from his life story about how.
Then you also look at guys like Lomachenko. He came into the world as a professional. He wanted to fight for the title in his second fight, and he did, and he lost. But it's amazing what he's done. Now you got to rank him with the greats until Teofimo Lopez came in and challenged him. Lomachenko wanted him, and Teofimo Lopez's father, they came out with a plan how to take Lomachenko out of his comfort zone. And they got to him. So it's amazing what the history has done in the game. And guys like, Willie Pep and Sandy Sadler and, Carmen Basilio, Gene Fulmer, all those great Bob Ford, so many great fighters we could talk about that, like a guy like Lomachenko came in and just like buzzed through all that. You got to have all this, like, Jersey Joe Walcott. He was boxing for how many years before he even got a shot at the title? I think 18 years before he got a shot.
That's awesome. Do you think that
more than 2 years?
Do you think that promoting yourself is just as important as the skill set now in
Well,
boxing?
if you got the goods, yeah, because you want to be seen. There's a lot of great fighters with no personality, so they're not going to really get to that level. They're not going to merit that size of money. Like a guy like Terrence Crawford, a great fighter, right? He wants dollar for dollar with Errol Spence, but Errol Spence has done the work, and he's the welterweight champ. So sometimes these guys try and get in there, but they're not doing any work letting people know who they are other than the real hardcore fight fans.
Yeah.
And in order to get that money, you gotta reach out to the younger kids, the Instagrammers, the outside the boxing world. And we don't, and that's the problem.
Have you ever told somebody that you've known who is who is a fighter, and you ever tell them, maybe it's time to hang it up?
Yeah. I've seen my trainer tell somebody early on in my career, listen, kid, go home and go find a job. And that was the most horrific thing I'd heard him say, but he told the kid the truth.
I mean, I guess it's better to be told that than to just go down a road that you're never going to really.
You're not going to make
in.
it. You're just not going to make it.
Wow, that's. Have you ever told that to like one of your friends who's getting banged up a little bit too much?
I've told some guys, listen, you can't make it. You don't have the endurance. You don't want to change. You want to do it your way. You just not going to make it. Unfortunately, that's the majority of fighters. They don't have the ability to take it to the next level, the magic level, and come back down. You got to fight 110%, come back to 60, come to 80, you got to make those adjustments. And a lot of guys can't do it. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's not the game.
Yeah.
A lot more involved in that. So
yeah, of course, there has to be some kind of like you said, you have to be able to adapt. Like
right.
when you're fighting somebody, I'm sure there's no great fighter who just had one technique. I'm sure that they were the greatest fighters of all time were the ones who were able to, adapt to their opponent.
You froze up on me there.
Oh, my bad. I was saying that I feel like the best fighters of all time weren't just one technique people. They weren't known for one thing. They were very
it's all about it's about adjustments.
Yeah.
It's about taking the guy. Every different fighter is a different style. You got to find the plan. You got to find the openings. You got to create the openings. You got to make it land. You got to take the heart out of the guy. You got to push him. And when you saw Deontay Wilder fight Tyson Fury, when Fury got dropped. He went to sleep. Jack Reese, the referee, a great referee, said when he got to 5, Fury's eyes opened up. He woke up, got off the canvas, and he walked Wilder down. He backed Wilder up. And some guys can't fight going backwards. Like Kenny Norton was one of those guys. When I fought him, I didn't know it. But if you back him up, you can't get off. And that's what we found out about Wilder. So in this third fight, who did the homework?
Yeah.
Did Wilder learn how to get inside, or is he going to try and spar with Fury? You can't spar with the master sparrer. You can't guy with the master boxer. You can't box him. You got to find other ways.
You need to find out what he's not good at and go for it.
Yeah, you got to create him. You got to see him. You got to watch a film and see it, and then look at that and work towards that.
So is boxing now your whole? Is that still your whole world now, or do you do?
Come on, I got a family. I got a wife. I do boxing. I make appearances. I have a great life. I do a lot of stuff. I got a great family, and boxing was one area of my life. It still is. It always will be. But there's more to Gerry Cooney than that. Pick up my book and read it.
Do you miss it?
Do I miss it? No.
Really?
There's a period of time you go through, you miss the action, the lights, the speed, but you get to a certain point. I watch it through other guys' eyes.
Okay. So you can, all right, that's actually pretty cool to think about, is that you're still able to connect with your sport through other people.
Oh yeah.
I like that. I really like that, because I have, I played football a lot in my life, and I missed it for a long time. And I do the same thing. I watch football now, and I'm like, wow, it's brings me back to those times of playing. It's like you really get to relive it. Could totally see that with the boxing aspect and looking at all of these great fighters now. Like you said, with Tyson Fury, what you watched that fight, I'm assuming, right? The one where he got knocked down, then got back up.
I was there. Yeah, sure I did.
Oh, you were there.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. So when you were there, like, do your emotions take over when you see people like really into a really good fight?
Well, no, I was watching Wilder, and he got all excited and was jumping up on the ropes, and he let Fury get away. Do you understand?
Yeah.
He let him get away. Hold on one second, will you please?
Yeah, no worries.
Do you understand? Like Wilder, it was so successful with that right hand, he forgot about learning all the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that in this get inside and don't stay outside. You can't do nothing with Fury on the outside. He feints you. He makes you. He moves awkwardly. He just makes you not sure of yourself. Every time he feints, you don't know what he's doing, so you hold off. But you can't get away with it that way. You can't depend on that right hand. You just can't depend on the right hand. You got to have other tools in the box at that level of boxing.
Yeah. No, I could having a whole arsenal at your disposal is definitely going to give you a better chance than just having one shot power. I mean,
Well, that's right, and
that has
that's
to make sense.
he got away with it for a long time, but unfortunately you run into somebody who says you need more than that, brother. And you can set that up with body shots. You can set that right hand up by getting into the body and getting them hands to come down and then landing that right hand. Then you can put him to sleep. That's what we want to see. Can he do that? Can he do that this week? And how does Usyk?
Yeah.
Does Usyk get the winner of that fight?
Huh.
And we just saw Joshua. He just is really. I don't know what they were thinking of. He had nobody in the corner talking to him, telling him, "Listen, kid, you're blowing it." If you get to the 10th, 9th round, you say, "Listen, you're blowing it. Forget the plan. Just go fight him. Just go get him and fight him. You got 3 rounds. Take off." Last round, it was like he was boxing like he won the fight. Anyway, that's the story. It's a sad story, but that's boxing sometimes. And I love boxing. I hate to see that happen.
No, I could totally understand that. So, do you think a corner is how important
Essential.
is a corner to a fight?
It's very important for the fight. That's the third eye. That guy sees what you can't see in there. And when you come back from the corner, you got to pay attention and listen to what he's saying. Look for what he's saying. Look for the opening. Then you can see it. Then you land it. That's the deal.
I could never. I don't understand how those fighters, when you're in that corner and you're breathing heavy, how you're able to focus. That's
your ass is on the line. That's how you can focus.
You have to listen, otherwise you're gonna get knocked out, man.
Well, you got to pay attention. So, all right, listen, it's been great.
Thank you very much for having you. Is there anything else you want to say? Like, do you have anything you want to promote?
It's like I said, I got a book. I'm on Sirius XM channel 156 every Monday, every Friday, 12 to 2 Eastern time. Got a book out there called Gentleman Gerry, a contender in the ring and champion in recovery. Barnes and Noble, Amazon. It's a great story, and it's great to be with you today. Okay,
well,
bro?
It's definitely been an honor to have you on. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Gerry Cooney, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much, sir.